Hello everybody on this very cold January weekend. This is John Felt. This is the Merschman Seeds Ag Weather Outlook for January 13th, 2018. Well, if you've seen the movie Groundhog Day, that's sort of what I feel like here. Every day sort of starting over again and the same type of weather briefing, and here we have this trough again over the middle part of the nation. And really, the briefing could be pretty quick. Now, I won't do that because I like to talk about the weather, but that means unusually cold air, and this unusually cold Arctic air usually doesn't hold a lot of moisture. So generally, and I say generally because there has been some messy precipitation, but generally this is giving us below normal precipitation and below normal temperatures. Now, this current cold snap that's moved in just over the last couple days, you can see here there's a lot of cold air here in source regions in Canada, and it's pushing down into the south, well to the south, so we have cold air entrenched over the middle part of the nation. Now, over the last week, along with this cold air pushing in, we had some messy weather. We had some rain, we had some freezing rain, we had some sleet and some snow. This is the amounts of precipitation. Generally, you can see they were light, a half inch, but there were some spots heavier right in this band right here. Some of this was because this was icing. The estimates were probably a little bit higher. But you can see these were the snowfall amounts over the last week, and right in here I see a little bit of yellow, and that's indicating 6 inches of snow in estimate. So there was some heavy snow in a small area right in this band, right in through here. Here was another snow band, another snow band, another snow band. Each one of these was with another push of unusually cold air. So we have some snow on the ground. Now, prior to this cold air, the temperatures had moderated for a few days, and that melted some snow. And that's one of the reasons why we have these holes here between these bands. There's not much snow in here. I talked about this a little bit this past week. So the snow is melting in here, and as long as we have these what I call sort of weak areas, here's more extensive snow cover, sort of a weak area. This is prone to rapid melt if we get any thaws that are occurring down the road. So I wouldn't say that we have a really all that significant snow cover at this time. So the temperatures averaged out last week actually a bit above normal or near normal, and that was due to some pretty significant fluctuations. Some mild days that melted some snow, and then towards the end of the week that cold air again pushed in. Now, we still need some additional precipitation, especially over southeast parts of Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, southern Illinois, parts of Indiana. We need a lot more precipitation in those areas. Also parts of a good part of the southern U.S. and the mid-Atlantic region. Now, the Arctic Oscillation, I show that a lot of times in winter. It sort of tells the big picture. It gives me sort of a clue on how the briefing might go. And what you see here is a lot of blue. Dips down here quite a bit, and then it comes back up and sort of another dip. And that's still indicating to me that we're probably prone towards continued pushes of cold air for a while. Each one of these dips indicates a deepening of a trough generally over the central or eastern U.S. So when we look at it this week, this is a pattern I could have shown you a month ago and almost identical. Here's a ridge of high pressure in the west, unusually warm weather. I put out something this week. Alaska had a record warm December. Here's that dip in the jet stream. So we're looking at the next 5 days, unusually cold weather. Probably peaking on Tuesday here. These are temperature anomalies 20 degrees below normal. Not only are they intense, but look how widespread they are, the entire Corn Belt. As far as precipitation goes this week, pretty light. A little bit of light snow here and there, but overall not all that much. And you can see the snow amounts. Even though the cold atmosphere can't hold a lot of moisture, it doesn't take a whole lot to pump out an inch or two of snow. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple inches here and there, especially over the eastern Corn Belt and along the Great Lakes. Plus, even though the lakes are freezing over now, the Great Lakes, you can see we don't get as much lake effect snow, but there is still some. Okay, now we get into the 6 to 10 day period. Well, what do we see here? This is a very repetitive type pattern that we've seen now for quite some time, almost a good part of the winter. But we still have a dip in the jet stream over the eastern U.S., but it's not as intense. You don't see that blue shading. Thus, it looks like probably temperatures moderating a bit in that 6 to 10 day range, except perhaps the upper Midwest. It still does not look like a real mild pattern, but it looks like moderating. So as first 5 days are probably going to be the coldest temperatures. Now it gets a little bit more interesting as we get into week 2 and beyond, January 23rd through 28th. Now we're getting into late January. It looks like we might straighten out that jet stream again, and that's going to do a couple things, but it's going to sort of confine the coldest air in the upper Midwest. So this region here, you're having a harsh winter. Boy, if I showed the winter severity index with temperature, very harsh winter. Not as much with snow, but definitely with cold air. So it's possible as we get into that 11 to 14 day range, some more variability. So here's week 1, below normal. And I think one of the things that looks very interesting to me is here's week 2 precipitation. I looked at a number of a number of models, and several of them do show maybe some more better possibility for wet weather right over those areas that need that precipitation. So let's see how that goes. This is 2 weeks out for precipitation, so sort of uncertain here, but that would be an area that needs more precipitation, and that could be in the form of rain or snow. Models right now are showing it as rain, but this time of year with this cold air, hard to say. So I think we can say for sure a cold and mainly dry week. We will have some light snow, a couple inches here and there. But I think as we get into the latter part of January, we could see a bit more variability in temperature and perhaps a bit more variability in precipitation. Having said that, I think we're fighting this primary winter-long trend of that trough in the east. So many times models show this variability trying to fight back towards climatology, but that cold air dominates. So it could be next week I'm talking again about that trough into the latter part of January. So stay warm, and I will be talking with you again next weekend.